Good afternoon, happy Tuesday to all of your sunshiny faces. So guys, I got not a lot of stuff done for today, honestly, guys. I'm taking a shower late again, guys. I was doing good. I was on a consistent, like, I was waking up at least 10 o'clock or earlier. And now, the last couple of days, I've been going to bed late, and I've been waking up late, and I'm really frustrated with myself. I'm going to bed late again tonight, because I got distracted. I'll explain that to you guys in a second. I was adding more recipes to my virtual recipe book, that I was, adding all the recipes that I like or I think can easily be turned into freezer dinners and things like that. Just because I told you guys, freezer dinners are literally my favorite thing because I can make them and then don't have to worry about them. And if there's more like meat on sale for 1 week or there isn't like something on sale for 1 week, then I don't have to like scramble and be like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to make for dinners this week? Like there's barely anything on sale, or suck it up and just be like, oh, I guess I'll just have to pay like more money than I normally do for like a product. Whereas when like chicken breasts $1.29 a pound last week, I stocked up and made 6 freezer dinners for this week. And so like for that, or even 2 ground chuck this week was also on sale. It was $2.59 I think a pound, so I stocked up and I got 6 pounds, which I'm going to make 6 freezer dinners with. So like for those, for example, I'm making 12 freezer dinners for 1 week. Obviously we wouldn't eat 12 dinners in 1 week, but I stock up and make them all in 1 week when they're on sale, and then I have leftovers for other weeks and stuff like that, which the stuff that I make for like, because I have so many already stockpiled and everything like that, the stuff that I make during the this week, we won't eat at all this week. We have other stuff that's out in the freezer, and I let it completely freeze, and so then I can actually defrost it and then use it for dinners in in future weeks, whereas I have stuff already from previous weeks that I can use for this week. But like today we just had pizza because I woke up late, so I didn't get anything in the crock pot, and I also didn't get a chance to go out and like have anything defrost, because normally most stuff needs to defrost for like over 24 hours, at least that I've noticed, unless you like leave it out like on the counter or something like that. But if you leave it in the fridge and let it defrost, normally for it to be like really completely defrosted, it needs to be like more than 24 hours, at least that I've noticed. Like with pasta and stuff like that, I could always do like a quick defrost and like throw it in, like fill up the sink with warm water and let it defrost in there, do a quick defrost, or I can throw it in the microwave for like, and do it on the defrost setting. But I've noticed that if I don't want to do that and I just want it to defrost like by itself and leave it in the fridge, that I normally end up having to like I said, for more than 24 hours. So I was going to also make for this week, which I don't know now if I'm going to get to, make what's it called, pasta. I have like a pasta out in the freezer, but it's in like a baking dish, so I can't obviously put it, because it's not like safe to put in water because it's just in a dish. It's like one of those baking tins that have tinfoil over it. And then it's not safe to put in the microwave, obviously, plus it wouldn't even fit in the microwave, but because it's aluminum, I can't put it in the microwave. So, and like the tin foil and stuff like that, or yeah, I guess it's both aluminum, but I can't put that in the microwave. And I also wouldn't even fit in the microwave, even if I could, but, it's easier if it's in a bag. But I wasn't thinking this was before I was doing it. I wanted to make those and use those up, but like I said, I didn't get out to the freezer today, so we ended up doing pizza, and then I'll have that, probably do a crock pot freezer dinner, because I can just do a quick defrost with that, and then I can make that pasta stuff. Like I said, it needs to defrost because I have to put it in the oven for dinner on Thursday night. Because if I'm doing stuff in the oven, it needs to be completely defrosted. Otherwise, I end up having to bake it longer, and then like the middle won't be it'll still be cold, but then the outsides, or like the top of it'll be like what's it called, like burnt or something like that. So it needs to really be like thawed evenly and not still frozen in the middle or something like that when I decide to put it in the oven. Whereas if something in the slow cooker, I honestly, guys, have never had a problem. I can throw like still frozen like meat in the slow cooker and just like jack it up to like high or whatever for like a handful of hours, and it'll be done. Because I've honestly done that too. You can just use like frozen chicken breast, throw it in the crock pot, or in a slow cooker or something like that. So yeah, I've done that plenty of times. But I will normally just do a quick defrost and, like I said, throw it in some warm water and let it just quickly defrost so that like the juices are defrosted, and even if the meat is still kind of frozen. But it's always completely cooked. I always double check too. And we need to get a new meat thermometer too, because we have two, but they both don't work well. So me and my dad, when we were at Walmart this past weekend, saw they have the digital thermometers. So I think it was like 13 bucks or something like that. But honestly, I think it'll be a lot better using a digital thermometer than using the stinking, you know, one that we have, because it takes so long and it's very inaccurate too. Like, you can tell the meat is done, like especially with chicken and stuff like that. Like, it'll be like completely like done in the middle and it's not pink, nothing, anything like that. And it'll always be like about 10 or so, it seems like, degrees off. And I've done the same thing with pork, with beef and stuff like that. Like, even too, if it's it'll say on the thing like medium rare or whatever, or you know, it'll be like whatever, I don't even remember what this stuff is for for beef, like for hamburger patties and stuff like that. But like, and then you open it up and it'll be like not pink at all, you know, or anything like that. Even if you want it like, what is that medium rare or rare or something like that, depending on, but it might say rare, but there'll be no pink left in the middle like at all, or something like that. But you guys know what I'm saying. I think that's right. I think rare is like more pink. But it'll be like, or it'll be like crispy. Like, okay, this is clearly overdone. You know, so it's like, it's definitely off. I mean, it was just a super like cheapy, like $5 one we got at like the grocery store just because we were going to get it. And then the other one, I don't remember where we got it from, but I don't even know where I thought we had another one. I don't even know where it is at one point. And then we got one because we thought it wasn't working. And so we got a more expensive one and it didn't work either. So hopefully, like I said, they were super, super cheap too. So I don't even know how well they would, or I mean, like, they haven't been working, but I'm hoping that like a digital one will maybe work better. Oh, the other one we got at Menards, and it was the same thing. It was like $5 or something like that. So I was thinking like a digital thermometer that's maybe more expensive, it'll work better. But I also know too, some slow cookers actually have the the thermometer built in to it. So you put it in like the steam escape hole or whatever that is, and you can put it in there. And I know even with some of the newer crock pots, they it'll turn off once it gets to a certain temperature, and I'll just move it to keep warm. So if you have a roast that you're like, it needs to be done at however many degrees or whatever, and you put that in, then it'll stop once the thermometer gets to the temperature that it's supposed to be at. So if you were like cooking something and leaving it, that way it doesn't get overdone, and it'll just move it to keep warm though, which I was like, that's such an ingenious idea. So I don't know, maybe at some point we get one of those. But I'm not a huge stickler for making stuff in the slow cooker, because I normally like not overcook it, but I normally make sure that it's really good. And I always like, if the recipe says like such and such, but I've noticed too when I've made slow cooker recipes, if it says like 8 to 10 hours, I've noticed like in like 7 hours mine always ends up being done. So I don't know if my slow cookers just cook food really quickly or what it is, or maybe I use less poundage per what it says. But like sometimes too, it might even say like, I don't even know, like 2 pounds of chicken breast or something like that for like however many hours, and I might use 3 chicken breasts and it'll still end up being like an hour less time or something like that. I seriously don't know, but it seems like ours always ends up cooking it way faster than like the whatever recipe says. But yeah, guys, and then too, I've even noticed that too, if I'm like making chili and I pre-cook the ground beef and everything like that, right, and then I add the beef to the what's it called, to the chili, and it ends up baking, like it'll start like to like bubble and stuff like that, which clearly means it's done. And it might even not be close to the time it's supposed to be done, but if like if it's warm and obviously the ground beef is already cooked, then you don't have to worry about anything being undercooked and like getting sick from it. So like if it's hot, like it's just like warming up soup basically, because everything else is already cooked that's in there. So like if it's like hot and bubbling up, or the sides start to like get that like like hot, super hot on the side, like it's almost like burning, not burning, but scalding, whatever it is, like around the sides of the slow cooker from like the sauce or whatever, then I'm like, cool, clearly it's done. I mean, like I'll stir it and stuff like that. A lot of times it ends up less than like what the recipe says. But anyway, so guys, I did add more stuff to my recipe book. I know I've been rambling on about slow cookers and thermometers and all kinds of other nonsense. But the other thing I was doing too, guys, was I was looking up the history of our town, because me and my mom and my aunts ended up going to this resale shop at this or not a resale shop, but we ended up going to the antique stores. My aunt ended up buying me, I think maybe I told you guys, she bought the, the bottle from the dairy farm, which used to be where our old house was. There was a dairy farm that was there, and it used to service like dairy to like the towns, surrounding towns. And so I like got really interested. I was like, I really want to know more about the history of our town. It kind of got me back into that whole ancestry thing that I was doing, where I was trying to look up, which, guys, I still haven't even looked up like all of my sides of my family tree. I still have got like a lot more to go. But it's really bad when I get on ancestry stuff, because that was weird, boys. Their ears perked up. My phone like beeps like 3 times for some reason. It was giving me ESPN notification. But anyways, though, as I was saying, I get like so distracted with the ancestry stuff where I end up pulling all-nighters, seriously. And me and my mom, honestly, the last like 2 or 3 times that we ended up doing it, I think, we stayed up until my dad ended up leaving for work, which he leaves at like 5 o'clock or whatever it was. And so we were up, and we didn't go to bed, I think 2 nights I know for sure we didn't go to bed until like 7 or 8 o'clock or something like that in the morning. Because we were just like so distracted with this like ancestry stuff, and like we're looking up all the family trees and things like that. And we still didn't do my great grandpa's side of the family, which I wanted to do. My mom says that isn't that difficult to find, because most of them are all buried in this one cemetery, like, and so we can date it back like really far, because they all have like, we have like a whole family plots, all kinds of like tons of them there. It's not super hard to find, but it kind of got me back onto like looking up this like our town history. And it's really interesting too, because I don't know how far it ended up going back, but like even seeing pictures of like the early 1800s, like the town was like, it's so stinking cool, guys. And our town isn't like a huge town. We have more like the downtown area kind of, I guess, in our town, like it's like it seems like small town kind of. And it's just like we have like resale shops, and like there's some other things, there's like bank there, there's I think a flower shop and like some other things and stuff like that, that are like in this downtown, or what used to be the old downtown. Now I guess it's still technically called downtown, but like obviously our like McDonald's and like all of the like big stores and stuff like that, our grocery stores, all that kind of stuff isn't in this like little downtown area. That's where it used to be, like the old downtown. And so like looking up though all of this stuff, which we live like literally about 5 blocks away from, I can walk there, and like looking up all the stuff of how it used to look and everything like that, and even being able to see like kind of, never saw an aerial picture where we could see our old house, which wouldn't have been here that long ago. Our house was probably built in like the I don't even know. My mom wanted to say like 1950s or 60s or something like that. But I'm also, because we live technically in the historic district of our town, and we have a lot of at least 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, plus 5, 6, yeah, like most of the houses that are more towards the downtown, they're that way, are the what's it called, the older like houses, and then that way are newer houses, because that way is the way to the park. And from what my mom was saying was that there was like a ton of trees. Whoever owned this land that we live on now, which again, I really want to go to our historical museum, which is at our old town hall building. I want to go there and do some more research. I've only been there once, but I want to know more about like the land, especially where we live now. But from what my mom had read was that it was owned originally by these people that own like this really, really big house that's down the street from us. And they had all of these really old houses, or not houses, really old trees that were on this land. And like a ton of trees just on this land. And so they said that they would sell the land, or it could be used to build houses and everything like that, but the one thing was that all the trees had to stay. So our trees in our neighborhood are super old. They're big, huge, beautiful trees. It's been really sad though, because it seems like every year at least a couple of them end up getting chopped down because of disease and stuff like that, and it's super sad. But like just well, actually, that might have not really been a big tree, but we used to have one out on our parkway. It was a huge, beautiful tree, and a couple years ago, they had to cut it down. But like I said, that way is the way that all of the land used to be and everything like that. Pretty much, like, there's no historical houses actually on our block, so I'm thinking everything from our block over, since we're actually the second to last house on the edge of this before the street, everything from there over, all the other houses I know that are that way, I think are like, again, from like the 1800s, early 1900s. And so the rest of them are all that way. Then there's the park, and our park has huge, big, beautiful trees. It was really sad because a handful of years ago there was not a tornado, but I think it was like a supercell or something like that was what they called it, ended up literally landing right in the middle of our park and knocked on a bunch of trees. I mean, not all of them are gone, but there's a lot of them that ended up getting knocked down. And so there's like patches where there's like, might be like 2 or 3 trees that just, like, especially from someone who has lived here for so long, you definitely noticed that there was trees missing there now. And they did replant a lot of them, but they're not nearly as mature as the other ones that were there. So that's why my thought was that then that was donated as also the park. And again, I'm not totally sure because I'm not a historian of the area, but it all makes sense too that, like I said, with my mom's research that she had done on all the trees in the area and everything like that, and that then the park in turn was turned into that because they were also preserving what the people that had sold off the land wanted, which was to save all of the, as many of the trees as possible, and just, they were, like I said, beautiful trees. There's one too that's on the back of our block. I think it's on our block, but there's one that, I mean, it is like huge, guys. It's seriously, I mean, it is so old. It's like such a big tree. It reminds me of like what are those, red oak trees or whatever, the red pine trees, whatever they are. You guys know what I'm talking about? Isn't that in California, those huge red trees, red oak trees, maybe they are, or something like that. But they're like, it's not super tall, but its base is just huge. And I think they might have even had to make the sidewalk, it actually like goes around the tree because it can't just go down the street because there's not enough space like in the parkway there. So, I mean, it's a huge tree. But yeah, like I was saying, like, it's kind of sad because, like I said, they've had to cut down so many of the trees, lately because they've been getting, at least especially that I've noticed, but we still have tons of them. We actually have none on our property though. Granted, our property isn't very big, but we actually had to have our last one cut down because there was one, they weren't like that big of trees. They weren't super old, but yeah, we don't have any left on our property. Even on our parkway too, there's none left. So yeah, but I just thought it was really cool, and it kind of got me back on that hunt of like, I want to know more history and like research and stuff like that, because honestly, guys, I feel like when it's something close to you, like close to home and stuff like that, you really want to like research it more, like, about family, or, because I've grown up my entire life in this town. I've lived only in this town. And so, doing research and learning about like the history and stuff like that. Granted, like none of my family, my mom and my grandma lived here, and maybe my great-grandparents lived here, but before that, like my great-grandma came from Chicago. My great-grandpa, I think, also maybe came from Chicago. And then the same too, like my dad's parents both lived in Chicago too. Like we were all from Chicago. Nobody literally like lived in the suburbs. But then they ended up moving out to the suburbs, and then my parents now obviously live here, and we've lived our entire lives in this town. My mom more than my dad. My dad lived in the city, but my mom has lived here. She went to the same high school as me. Like, she's lived here literally her entire life. Then when my dad I think first got married or something like that, they ended up moving, lived in like 2 different apartments, and I think maybe in the same town, and then ended up moving back here, but they were like just in the town over. So yeah, that's that's just, I feel like it's, again, like when it's close to you, like either your hometown or, you know, like the place that you're living in, you kind of want to know more about, or like, you know, what was, you know, what happened to my area, or, you know, in where my house is, or was my house part of something special, or was the land that my house is on special, or, you know, what the park that we go to, you know, those kind of things. Like, it makes you kind of interested and want to do research about it and stuff like that. And like for me too, like I said, like family history is very important to me, so I got kind of on that kick again and stayed up a little bit later than I should have. It's 1 o'clock right now, so I'm gonna get to bed, hopefully not stay up any later, but I'll see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give it a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.